Thunderbolts spends its first weekend in theaters, and I've had the pleasure of seeing it twice now, as I do with most Marvel movies, of course. Unless you're Thor Love and Thunder. Now, I just want to say quickly that this isn't going to be one of those is Marvel back or the best MCU movie since Endgame kind of videos, just because I think we're way past those clickbait and drawn out discussions.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
However, I want to take a look at these long returning characters and how their personal journeys through this film gets them to where they need to be for Avengers Doomsday. We see the likes of Yelena returning after her last two performances in Black Widow and Hawkeye.
I don't have any weapons on me. Okay, I take that back. I don't have any weapons currently in my hands. That's a lie also.
And then there's characters like John Walker and Ghost from their own respective properties. Oh, and there's Taskmaster too. If you know, you know. Along with the newer characters such as Bob that give such a nice addition to this film and really help beat these themes of depression, isolation, and self-worth over the head in a good way if you ask me. This movie does something really good, and I think we see this in other films like Winter Soldier, Civil War, and Guardians Volume 3. We get those really good themes and inner conflicts that flesh out over the 2-hour runtime for this movie. Pairing that with the likes of the director, production style, and style of film it wants to deliver itself in, it really helps craft and make it a cohesive movie. So, I want to break down some of it and talk about these pretty neat things that came from this movie, whether tone or overall enjoyment. Oh, and there are some pretty deep spoilers, and I mean deep, so if you haven't seen this and want to go into full transparency, this is your warning now.
You have been warned.
And as always, I am Hunter from Hunnera, bringing you some of my most personal takes on movies, media, and everything in between. So, hit those essentials, and let's find out what makes Thunderbolts one of the most personal stories within the grand universe that is the MCU.
I click leave on porch. Your subordinates will be reported to DoorDash HQ.
Alexi, it's me. Open up.
Milena? Yelena!
Hi, Dad.
When this movie was first revealed, I can remember the idea circulating that this was basically Suicide Squad for Marvel, and that can't be far from wrong. Well, sorta. See, this movie does have that momentary death of a character like Taskmaster, but what it does is takes these characters and rather than putting them together in a suicidal mission, they're a bunch of lost souls with some shitty, and I mean shitty pasts, that come off as suicidal themselves. And that's where I think this draws the distinction, because really, DC's version wants to live, where these ones seem not to care.
There's something wrong with me. An emptiness. I thought it started when my sister died, but now it feels like something bigger. Just a void.
So adding a little ketchup on this burger for how it plays out is that we see these characters that eventually band together, sent on a semi-cleanup job for Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
Actually, it's Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. I know it's hard, but I don't like to repeat myself, so you can just call me Val. But don't call me Val, just keep it in your head.
Who we've seen before in other media, of course.
You've had, including that treasonous call with the Queen, may she rest in peace. But it's good. Well, for us.
Well, you know what? The Wakandans saved my life. They're good people. You ever thought for a second what they could be doing? Ever thought what we would be doing if the US was the only country in the world with vibranium?
Oh, I actually dream about that.
Needing to tie up loose ends as she faces impeachment, she sends our main characters to essentially kill each other, and when they can't do that all but for one, they face total incineration. This is where we spend time with them and Bob.
I'm Bob.
Who sent you, Bob?
Nobody. You were all sent?
Robert Reynolds, aka the Sentry for this story. The team escapes, but not without the sacrifice-ish of Bob, but we'll talk about that in the deeper meanings of it later in the video. We see the rest of the film come to be with them banding together with Bucky to put a stop to Valentina until she awakens something darker in the Sentry, which is the Void. Now before I dive into their stories, let's break down what the Void is, just so there's no confusion.
It is Red Guardian here. Ha ha ha! Yes, my powerful two-car fleet is at your service, protecting you from boring evening. I do business trips. I do school pickups, fancy funerals, and regular funerals. Listen to what my friends have to say about Red Guardian limo service.
Limo service at Red Guardian, we'll take you anywhere.
Oh, that's nice. Every paid ride includes selfie with world-famous Red Guardian. Ha! Selfie. What are you waiting for? You're basically robbing me. I close my eyes, you take my money. Run! Remember, I can do this all night.
Call 1-833 Red Limo. That's a 0, not an O.
Call now.
For the glory.
In Thunderbolts and other Marvel comics, the Void represents a dark mental or emotional state, and also kind of a being at the same time, where these characters feel empty, isolated, or overwhelmed. It's a place for chaos and internal conflict. For the Sentry in this film, it's a manifestation of his darker self embodying the destructive force of his trauma and emotions, the complete opposite of the hero he wants to be. But for the Thunderbolts, the Void is where they're confronting their pasts, their guilt and fears. It's basically an allegory for deep emotional struggle, where the consequences of their actions kind of come to a head. Yelena, being one of, if not the most important character within this story, is the heart of the film, no doubt. Not only is Florence Pugh's acting really good, but the struggles she deals with and conveys with her character really puts the tears out for me. Yelena struggles with these deeper conflicts, such as other characters in this film, i.e. John Walker, or basically all of them, matter of fact. When we usually think or have seen Yelena in these movies, she's the funny and stern-witty character, but I think we also push past the fact that she's so alone.
All she can think about is that you were safe. That never changed, Yelena. She loved you and always wanted you safe.
You got so much time with her.
Yes, I did.
It shouldn't have gone this way. If I was there, I could have stopped it. I could have changed it.
Nothing was gonna stop her, Yelena.
Her one and only true sister gone on Vormir, and her only family she's ever known growing up with the Red Room is shattered and broken.
It was real to me. You are my mother. You were my real mother. The closest thing I ever had to one. The best part of my life was fake. And none of you told me.
We get really good visuals and actions that convey how she feels deep inside, whether we effortlessly see her jumping off of a skyscraper or willingly accepting death as her fate in the incineration room. We sense her isolation from the world and purpose. Now, the relationship she holds with Bob and wanting to protect him because they feel one and the same is what really progresses this plot all the way to some key important moments with her, such as her dialogue with Alexei, where all of our thoughts come to fruition.
I'm late, but I'm here now.
Daddy, I'm so alone. I don't have anything anymore. All I do is sit and look at my phone and think of all the terrible things that I've done, and then I go to work, and then I drink, and then I come home to no one, and I sit and I think about all the terrible things I've done again and again, and I go crazy.
We all have things that we regret.
No, but I have so many.
These moments we get with this usually charismatic character like herself really takes and put things into a different perspective, that no matter what face we wear, these feelings we have within us need to be out, otherwise it takes us on such a lonely path. And these feelings carry over pretty well with the man himself.
What is it like being Captain America? Do eagles fly overhead wherever you go?
Yes. Yeah, that and flags tend to start majestically waving in the wind.
John Walker in this movie not only plays the lovable asshole, as usual with his character, but we somewhat understand why he is the way he is. You know, we need to take this brash and hard-headed character and pull back the layers of a man who simply wants to just feel important. John, since being stripped of his role as Captain America in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, has been on a loathing and self-destructive path. His family life and the ones that should be closest to him are pushed out and removed from his life. What was once an optimistic and chin-held high man has resulted in a darker character. And just like Yelena, we get brief glimpses of this, like when he's in the unexplainable void and sees his decisions that made his family fall apart.
What the hell are you doing?
Pulling him out of this trance, he stands there above this mile-high elevator, props to him by the way, and the thought of just ending it all there at once, or the simple conveying of that, really shows how they're not so different. I think really mixing these characters together is not only unique, in certain ways, especially three super soldiers, but it really shines with Bob. Where at this point, it's heavily implied that they are unwell and lost. But Bob is open about his darker thoughts. He's not only shattered with his psych, but when it's revealed with his past drug use or his childhood abuse, he usually is playing this vessel and this character that really forwards everyone into being something better, or at least manageable. I think this is honestly what makes his bond with Yelena so tender yet moving, because it gives us these two broken souls slowly learning how to trust and lean upon one another. This connection can't magically fix them or their burdens, but it grounds them and ensures that they're not alone in this journey, you know, together pulling each other back from the edge of the void, both literally and metaphorically. But arguably one of, if not the most emotional moments, is when Bob is giving into his thoughts that the void wraps around him, and we see Yelena break free momentarily and rush towards him. She's wrapping her arms around him, pulling him back along with the team surrounding them, joining together in this, you know, being embraced as he's on the verge of giving into his inner darkness.
I'm here.
It will always be just us.
You're not alone.
Something deeper than just a flashy fight like the movies before, and not that there's anything wrong with that in my opinion. I mean, I like my nerd moments, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to see them wrap around him and show that if they stand together that they can push past these darker moments in their lives with each other. It's things like this in our movie that I think can really benefit and make us care for these characters, and even makes them feel real in a way. They may have these larger than life stories, but deep down they all apply the same logic of mental health as we do. Taking it day by day, and with the right tools and understanding, they can come together and survive.
We're taking you in, Val.
I don't think so. Junior varsity, Captain America.
Walker.
I want to show some love to characters like Ghost, Alexei, and the man himself, Bucky.
Of course, I completed rule number 3.
I am no longer the Winter Soldier.
I am James Bucky Barnes,
and you're part of my efforts to make amends.
For one, it's always nice seeing the latter two characters come into play because not only does it give us some really good comedic beats, but the other is such a comfort for this movie. We've gotten plenty of good screen time for Bucky and seen his journey, so it does make sense why they would keep him sidelined in this film for some aspects. He gives us that familiarity with these characters while allowing the others to shine in their own right. This doesn't take from him or either, because whenever he's on screen, it's badass, and especially the music they chose to give him, it's that stern and deep feeling that does match him in the film. Alexei and Ghost, with their parts in this movie, are pretty solid as well. He is an old man yearning to put on the suit and get back out there and fight, which is his main purpose and journey.
The only thing you care about are your stupid glory days is the Crimson Dynamo, and no one wants to hear about it.
It's the Red Guardian.
Get out.
While Ghost is a nice addition to the team since we haven't seen her since Ant-Man and the Wasp, and compared to Quantumania, I think I like it more now.
Emotionally speaking. Well, where is Scott Lang? Literally speaking!
Oh, the woods.
The woods? What do you mean, the woods?
The Muir Woods, Second Fire Road off the Panoramic Highway.
For God's sake.
Oh!
Baba Yaga, come at night, little children sleepy tight.
Alexei, just genuinely happy to be part of the team, and even more so to be there for Yelena. There's something really heartwarming about his presence. He's messy, sure, but his love and loyalty shines through every scene he's in. Then again, there's Taskmaster, who basically shows up to die within less than, I'd say, 3 minutes. I didn't really mind her in Black Widow, but also, like, I see what the fans are talking about. I just don't care, though. I just wanted to include that small little portion for these characters because while they're crucial to points in this movie and everyone comes to play their part pretty well, I think the big three gotta be Yelena, Bob, and John. As for the next segment of this video, I really want to talk about how this movie was filmed and all the factors that go into it. This movie not only functions as an enjoyable watch, but I'd say it teeters the lines of being a psychological horror in many clear ways. You know, the way that it plays out through the psyche of each character, but also brings in some serious topics that most films in this universe would try to draw away from. It deals with the abuse and how it affects the individual in many ways, even up to the point of disassociating in the mind in Bob's case. It also thrives visually through color, composition, and haunting imagery. I mean, shots like the void towering over New York in a godlike pose, wiping lives into the shadow realm, kind of feels surreal and terrifying in the best way. It's like, it's not like anything we've seen really in the MCU. Maybe minus the blip.
Oh no. Well done.
You have the design, the pitch black and looming that creates the suffocating atmosphere, and the way it can pull people into the shadows, drowning them in pain that lingers is... chef's kiss. And matching that, stylistically, it brings a fresh tone to the franchise. It's kind of like Winter Soldier met the visual elegance and kind of intensity of Captain America Civil War, but with a deeper and more psychological edge.
If you can actually capture something amazing and shoot it, there is this kind of human, breathtaking quality to that.
Director Drake Schreier clearly had a tight, focused vision for this film, and you can tell it was deeply inspired by the A24 aspects as well. Just with some of the actors or other elements, you know, Jake Schreier directed Beef on Netflix, which is one of my favorite shows. That series, like this movie, blends raw emotional storytelling with striking and cool visuals as well. And fun fact, Beef also starred Steven Yeun, who was originally cast as the Sentry, but I believe had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts.
She's some rich bitch from Calabasas. You know, she's probably sitting at home all day eating like baguettes and jam or some shit.
Yo, fuck that bitch. Take your time with the money.
Really?
Yeah, dude, we're family. Just give me the title of your truck in the meantime. Here, help me with this. Use your legs.
Yeah.
Oh, and can't forget the A24 inspired trailer for this movie. Totally set the mood and told us from the beginning that this isn't gonna be your typical movie. And I think one of the film's most perfect elements is the score composed by Sun Lux, the same team behind Everything Everywhere All at Once. Their music has this unique ability to convey mental health and emotional trauma not through lyrics, but just the feeling, like that same depth that carries over into this film, elevating scenes with atmospheric and haunting compositions, if you ask me. Now, I think some of my favorites, probably, I just know they're my favorite, is It's Bucky, that one when he shows up on the bike. And Thunderbolts stand out especially because they capture that looming presence of darkness, but balance it with glimmers of hope. You know, the score becomes a tug of war itself, echoing in the film's core themes of emotional struggle and identity. And that's basically me nerding out just for how a movie's made.
I'm Bob. I told you. Yeah, Bob.
Jesus Christ, stop saying Bob.
Who sent you, Bob?
Nobody. Why would I be sent? You were all sent?
I'm not sure what's happening here, but you're all exhausting, and my job is done. But you see, my job is to keep an eye on you. So no, you are not gonna go anywhere anymore.
So you're keeping an eye on her, huh?
Now my last little section for this video just kind of goes over where I hope we're heading with the next couple of movies, like Fantastic Four: First Steps, and you have Avengers: Doomsday, of course.
Are you the protectors of this world?
Yes, we are.
Your planet is now marked for death.
It's my fault. I stretched the bounds of space. And they hurt.
I think what really gets me hyped now is where this is all gonna go. Now, the Thunderbolts turning into the new Avengers, that's straight out of one of my most favorite Marvel comic eras, and yeah, I'm more of a DC guy, but even I can't resist the kind of chaos like the original Civil War. And then now we know Sam Wilson clearly isn't thrilled about the Thunderbolts taking the Avengers torch, and you know that he and Bucky just are headed for this kind of awkward heart-to-heart. Like, Steve would be raising an eyebrow or rolling in his grave, even watching this from his moon base, maybe? Either way, the Red Guardian on the Avengers team, you gotta think about Steve.
You're probably thinking, what? This is crazy.
I also think seeing Doom versus the Void would be epic. Not only are they both some pretty powerful characters, but with the route that we're going with God Emperor Doom, seeing him transferred into the Void and completely demolishing Bob in like a fight, that would really show how up the stakes are for this next movie and how powerful this version of Doom is. Or even something like Sam Wilson's Avengers against the new Avengers would be pretty interesting, but I don't know how they would pull that off with the bigger plot going on as well. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie and honestly don't have any major complaints.
But wait! There's more!
On a personal note though, I do wish we got a little bit of more John's nightmare visions. I love Wyatt Russell's performance, and those sequences were some of the most interesting windows into his fractured mindset.
I remember sneaking into this locker room before each game to see you.
It's probably why we always won.
You nervous?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Never. I've been a captain before, obviously, but this is different.
So a little more of that psychological horror element would have been great, of course, even with all the other characters.
And you, former Red Room assassin. God only knows the blood on your hands.
Pretty ludicrous coming from the dime store Captain America.
I'll have you know I was actually the official Captain America, so.
Yeah, for like 2 seconds.
So wrapping up this video, I just want to take a moment to reflect on what the core of the story is all about, and I'm genuinely thankful for this chance to dive into these characters and their journey. So characters like Yelena, John, and Bob aren't just fighting villains, they're battling their own inner demons, struggling with these feelings of worthlessness, loss, and isolation. Now that's how it goes for the rest of the characters. That's my Yelena impersonation, my bad. But this isn't just a superhero story, it's about the real struggles we all face as we're trying to move forward when life tries to knock us down. What makes Thunderbolts stand out is how deeply it connects with its audience through the personal stories, like Yelena's journey of grief and guilt, or John's battle of shame and self-doubt, and then you have Bob's just simple searching for meaning and purpose. They aren't just characters on the screen, they represent parts of us that we don't always talk about, parts that feel broken or lost. But through each of their stories, we see the importance of connection and being there for one another. And knowing that even in the darkest moments, love and support can make all the difference, of course. Now, this film doesn't offer any easy answers or a perfect ending, but what it does is offer hope. The kind of hope that comes from leaning on people and yourself even when you don't feel worthy of it. And in that, Thunderbolts becomes not just a great movie, but a reminder of what it means to fight for yourself and the people who make you feel whole again. So, in a world full of loud, flashy heroes, Thunderbolt stands as a quietly powerful reminder that sometimes the real strength is found not in what we can do for the world, but in how we can show up for ourselves.
What about your hat?
The hat. The helmet?
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
It's like cool, right? You like it?
Do you like the hat?
Yeah, I think the hat's pretty sweet.
Then
Yeah.
cool.